All right. All right. We will start. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Madhava Kiribadari Gopijana Madhava Kiribadari Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Manachari Yamuna Tera Manachari Jai Hu Radha Madhava Kunabihadi Jai Radha Madhava Kunabihadi Gopijana Balaba Giribadhari Gopijana Balaba Giribadhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Manachadi Yamuna Tera Manachadi Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunjabihati Jayurad Madhuva Kunjabihati Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravavikacharya also tell us that Shri Shrimad, His Divine Grace Savaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrindigajai Namacharya Shilahira Thakur Gajai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha. Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindigajai Shri Shri Radhakrishna. Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturadam Ki Jai. Jagadada Sami Kajai, Yamunamai Kajai, Shimani Lasidevi Kajai, Samaveda Bhakta, Vrindi Kajai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Go. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shilabopad Kajai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nibishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarni. So, as I mentioned, we're going to actually tell the story of the prequel, prequel, prequel. That means before the prequel, to the Mahabharata War. Of course, the Mahabharata itself is the prequel to the war, but there's a lot going on there that you don't really read about in the Mahabharata. For example, you hear about all these people being killed, millions of people during the Mahabharata War, and Krishna encouraging the killing of all these people during the Mahabharata War, and you're wondering, why is this happening? And also you read in the Mahabharata that Duryodhana was not actually a demon. He was the incarnation of Kali, the demigod. He's an incarnation of the demigod. It's considered the worst of all the demigods. And then you also read that Shakuni, he was the incarnation of Dwarpara. So you have Shakuni. So therefore, it appears that they were sent down to create this terrible conflagration, this terrible fight, so that millions of people will be killed. So one may ask, why was this arranged like this? You know, why did these two demigods, even though they're not the best of the demigods, why did these two demigods come down and being sent on a mission to actually create this conflict and arrange for so many people being killed? And why did Krishna encourage this? Well, what I'm going to talk about tonight will actually explain this whole thing. Because what we're talking about with the Mahabharata War was not a war specifically on the Earth planet. It was a war that was fought, as we say, an interplanetary war. Just like some of you may have seen the series of films, Star Wars, or something like that, where there's interplanetary wars, the good guys and the bad guys. Well, this is what is represented by the Mahabharata War. So, without further ado, we're going to start talking about the history. The history goes back and is all mentioned. Come in. This history is mentioned in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you have many different stories, but this is the story of demons fighting devotees. Now, in this universe, as in all the universes, there's the demons or the devas and the devas are the devotees, and the daityas or the demons, and danavas, which are also demons. Oh, please come in. Okay, so we're getting a nice crowd here. So, in every universe, there's the good guys and the bad guys, or as they say, the light side of the force and the dark side of the force, to use a Star Wars analogy here. So, here's the story. once upon a time, there was this great sage named Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni basically is known for having a bad temper or being very temperamental. So he was riding on his, he saw Indra riding on his elephant Airavata, and he gave Indra a garland. So you would think Indra was going to be very pleased to have a garland given by the great sage. So what happened is Indra took this garland and he threw it on his elephant. The elephant wasn't interested in the garland, so he trampled the garland under his feet. And Durvasa got really angry at the demigods at this particular juncture. And because he cursed them, they started losing all the battles. And this is really what happens if you offend a great personality, especially if the great personality curses you, you can lose all spiritual and material welfare and all your assets. So this is really what happened. So therefore, the demigods had a problem because the demons had taken over the heavenly planets. So in this case, Indra and the demigods, including Lord Shiva, went to Lord Brahma to complain about this whole thing. Lord Brahma is like the chief of the demigods in this universe. You know, there's the triumvirate that is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But Lord Brahma is basically the head. And so they went to Lord Brahma to complain. And then Lord Brahma, when he receives a complaint about the whole universe, he goes to Svetadvip to complain or beg Lord Vishnu to help. So Lord Vishnu gave them an instruction at that particular point. Make a truce with the demons since they're so powerful. And you could make a truce, and in this particular way, you could propose to them that you should churn the milk ocean for nectar. And so basically they went to the chief of the demons, who happened to be Bali Maharaj at that particular point. It's interesting. Bali Maharaj is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, and he was in charge of the demons, and but he's a good guy. Anyway, so they went and churned the milk ocean, and they tried, a lot of things happened when they were trying to churn the ocean. First of all, they tried to carry Mount Mandara to the ocean to use the churning rod, and everyone was crushed underneath, and Lord Vishnu had to appear to carry it and transport it on the back of Garuda. Hare Krishna. And so then Garuda left because for the churning rope, they were going to use Vasuki, who was a snake, and Vasuki doesn't like to be around Garuda. So then Garuda left, and the demigods were interested in holding the tail, and the demons wanted to hold the head. They thought, oh, the head is more auspicious than the snake, but what they failed to calculate was that the head of a snake has poisonous vapors coming out of it. So they actually became pretty much unconscious. And still, the demigods took the tail, and then they started to wrap Vasuki around Mount Mandara, but the mountain started to sink. And when it started to sink, what did they do? They called for the Lord again, and the Lord appeared as the Kurma avatar. Kurma is the tortoise incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so they were able to churn the milk ocean by having Mount Mandara resting on the Kurma avatar. And then Lord Vishnu had to be at the top anyway, holding the top of the churning rod, that is Mount Mandara, steady as they were churning. So it's described that in this way, the Kurma avatar was being served by the devotees and demons, by having his back scratched by the mountain and also his jewels polished. So as they were churning, First of all, poison came out of the milk ocean. That was called halahala. Halahala. And everyone prayed to Lord Shiva, please save us from this devastating poison. And as they were praying, Lord Shiva agreed to save everybody, and he drank the poison. And that's why his throat turned blue. And it's described that some of that poison actually entered into venomous animals like spiders and snakes that, bite and are extremely poisonous. So then he saved everybody. And then also out of the churning of the milk ocean came the Surabhi cow, and that was given to the Brahmins. There was Airavata, who was again given to Indra. I guess Indra keeps getting Airavata and he keeps getting it back. And then the Stuba jewel and the Padma Mane jewel were given to Lord Vishnu. The Apsaras came out. Lakshmi eventually came out of the churning of the milk ocean, and she approached Lord Vishnu to marry him. And then another thing came out called Varuni, which is intoxicating beverage. And that intoxicating beverage was given to the demons because demons love to get intoxicated. So eventually the nectar came out being carried by Dhanvantari, who is the physician incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the demons, in spite of assuring the demigods previously that they would share the nectar equally, stole the nectar. So again, the demigods, they had to go and take shelter of Vishnu. And they prayed to Vishnu, please help us. In the meantime, Vishnu had created a quarrel between the demons. So none of them took the nectar in the beginning because they were fighting amongst themselves. I should take first. You should take second. And this way they were fighting and fighting. And finally, Lord Vishnu appeared as the Mohini Murti, incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Mohini Murti appeared before the demons and bewildered the demons so much that they said, please divide this nectar up equally. And so Mohini Murti, who was actually Vishnu Krishna, said to them, why should you trust me? And they said, we trust you because you are beautiful. A very good reason for trusting someone. And so Mohini, instead of giving it to the demons, gives it to the demigods. And one of the demons really understood what was going on. His name was Rahu. And he snuck into the assembly of the demigods, and he started to drink the nectar, and he was discovered by the sun and the moon, who reported that to Mohini, who is Lord Vishnu. And Mohini took out her Sudarshan chakra and chopped Rahu off at the head, but the nectar had actually reached here. So he still remained alive. And that was the sun and the moon that he's very, very envious of. So then there was more fighting. The demons became very upset with what had happening. There was Bali, another demon named Kalanemi, who later on became Kamsa, actually. Kalanemi became Kamsa and was the one who killed all of Krishna's brothers, 6 Krishna's brothers. Viprachiti, and the demons started to win. So again, they called for Lord Vishnu. You see how the demigods, they have to keep taking shelter of Lord Vishnu. And Vishnu killed Kalanemi with his trident. So that's why Kalanemi was always envious of Vishnu, envious of Krishna. And that's why when he appeared as Kamsa, that was his whole dedication. So, and then Lord Vishnu also killed other demons, Mali, Sumali, Malyavan, and Bali Maharaj was knocked unconscious. So the other demons get really upset at hearing about how their chief was knocked unconscious. And then they start to attack the other demigods in force. And Indra, especially there's one demon named Namuchi. And Indra could not kill him. And he was wondering, he prayed to Vishnu, how can I kill this demon Namuchi? Because Namuchi had gotten a benediction that he could not be killed by any weapon that was dry or wet. So what are you going to do? Dry or wet? So when Indra heard that message from Lord Vishnu, he thought, how can I come up with a weapon that's neither dry nor wet? And he came up with a foam weapon. Foam is neither dry nor wet. So anyway, then all the demons were dead. Well, including Bali Maharaj. So this is interesting. So Brahma sends Narada Muni to tell the demigods, stop killing the demons. Because Brahma wants to maintain a balance in the universe. Because there's a purpose for demons. You may say, what is the purpose for demons? Purpose for demons is to keep the demigods on their toes. Because if there weren't any demons, if there wasn't any opposition, there would be no impetus for the demigods to pray to Lord Vishnu. Right? They would just like, all right, everything's going well, nobody's going to compete with us. Fine. And so this gives them an impetus to actually take shelter of the Lord, because the whole purpose of the material world is to actually reform the conditioned souls so they will ultimately come and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People ask, why is there so much misery here? Why is there so much difficulty? Why is there old age? Why is there death? Why is there disease? Did God design things wrongly? Did he make some mistakes? No. Everything's perfectly designed, just like you have this thing in industrial design called planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence means that whatever you buy, especially electronic goods, after a while become obsolete, either because it breaks down or because the style changes or the technology gets better. Just like you see with Apple iPhones, every year or so often they come up with a latest iteration of the iPhone. Everyone's thinking, I have to have it. And then someone looks at you and you have the iPhone 10 instead of the 13 or whatever, 14. I don't even know. And they look at you like you're a jerk. Or if you happen to be walking around with a PC instead of an Apple computer, they look at you like you're just like clueless, isn't it? Or if you have an old car like that, people just criticize. So there's called obsolescence. That's obsolescence by design. So Krishna has created this material world. So there's misery by design. So that you take shelter of him and you take up spiritual life seriously. And old age, dukkhalayam shashvatam, it's temporary, miserable. Janma mritu jara vyadi dukkha doshana dashanam, as Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita. So, but this particular case, the demons became revived. How did they become revived? Because they were actually cured by Shukracharya, the demon's spiritual master, who has this Mrityu Sanjivana. He can bring people back to life as long as their body is still there. Bali takes shelter of Shukracharya at this particular point, and he attacks Indra again, and he takes over heaven again. Ooh. And so the demigods become very much afraid, and Brahaspati tells the demigods, he's the priest of the demigods, you should go and hide because you will not be powerful now. So Bali, as the head of the heavenly planets now, even though he's in the demon, he does 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices as the king of heaven. Meanwhile, Aditi, who is Indra's mother, becomes very upset And she goes to Kashyapa, who's been meditating the whole time. Kashyapa is actually the father of the demons and of the demigods, the Daityas and the Danavas and the Devas. So he has different wives. He has Danu, he has Diti, Aditya, Aditi. So anyway, it's quite a family where you have your half brothers are demons and the other half are devotees. So anyway, so he preaches to Aditi to become detached and let's worship Vishnu. So he gives us this whole process for worshiping Vishnu, which is called Payovrata, which means subsisting on drinking milk for about 12 days and chanting certain mantras. And on the 13th day, they do an abhishek. And then Vishnu agrees to become her son. And so what happens is that her son, of course, is named Upendra, right? Lord Vamana, a dwarf Brahmin. So he appears, he's very beautiful, a dwarf Brahmin, and he goes to Bali's sacrifice where Bali is trying to do 100 horse sacrifices. And Bali, being a Brahminical demon, because even the demons had culture in those particular days, Bali washes the feet of Lord Vamanadev, and he says to Lord Vamanadev, whatever you want, I'll give you. And Lord Vamanadev says, I only want 3 paces of land. And Bali Maharaj says, this is not so intelligent. You can ask for anything. You can ask for a whole planet. You can ask for the universe. You can ask for a nice wife. You can ask for any of these things and you will get them. So he says, no, if someone is not satisfied with 3 steps of land, one will never be satisfied with anything in this world. So Bali Maharaj gets ready to offer that benediction or the boon to Lord Vamanadev, and he's stopped in his tracks by Shukracharya. And Shukracharya says, that's Vishnu. If you offer him everything, you will get everything taken away from you. And Bali Maharaj says to his guru, but previously you told me to worship Vishnu. And Shukracharya says, well, the reason I told you to worship Vishnu is to get something from him, but when he wants to take something, you don't worship him anymore. You got to be practical. And Bali Maharaj says, I'm going to give him what he's asked for, even if he is Vishnu, even if he does take everything away, because I don't want to be a liar. And Shukracharya sort of puts himself in this water pot that's meant for signifying the benediction. And he stuffs himself up in the spout of the water pot. And Lord Vamanadev, being very intelligent, picks up some kusha grass and pokes him in the eye. So from that point forward, Shukracharya is blind in one eye, and he hates Vishnu. Previously, he wasn't so inimical to Vishnu. In fact, at one point, he wanted to be the priest of the demigods. But when Brihaspati took over, he got really envious of Brihaspati and decided to be the priest of the demons. So anyway, so what happens is that Bali Maharaj gives Lord Vamana this offering, and Lord Vamana proceeds to take one step, covers the earth. The next step covers the universe and kicks a hole in the universe. And the Ganges water starts to come into the universe. And Lord Vamanadev says that you offered me 3 steps. And where's the 3rd step? And Bali Maharaj says, put it on my head. And he puts his 3rd step on the head of Bali Maharaj. And he pushes Bali Maharaj down to Sutala, which is one of the lower planets. And the Lord actually agrees to become the doorkeeper or the guardian for Bali Maharaj's abode in Sutala. So in that particular point, the demigods regain the heavenly planets and defeat all the demons. So the demons want to go somewhere where they're protected from the demigods. So they're thinking, where can we go? Where can we take refuge? I mean, there's even some stories in the Mahabharata that describe at a particular juncture, the demons would take birth, not take birth, would take refuge in the ocean. And then in order to defeat the demons, you have to have Agastya Muni get rid of, drink up the whole ocean or dissolve the whole ocean so the demigods could attack them. So in this particular case, the demons took birth on this earth planet. And how did they take birth on this earth planet? They took birth as Kshatriyas on the earth planet. So the whole earth was actually, because previously all the Kshatriyas were actually killed by Parshuram. And so now the whole earth has been repopulated with these Kshatriyas who are mostly demons, mostly Daityas and Danavas. And so, like I mentioned before, you have Kalanemi, who is comes Kamsa, Viprachiti, who is Jarasandha. So a lot of these demons were actually killed by Krishna, like Kalanemi, Kamsa. Some of them were killed individually, like Jarasandha by Bhimsen. And you have others like Pundraka that were killed by Krishna. But Krishna understood that there was a whole bunch of demons. And to get rid of them all at the same time, it couldn't be just one by one. I mean, you couldn't kill them all one by one. You had to just do it wholesale. So, phew. So therefore, Krishna arranged this whole battle of Kurukshetra so that millions of Daityas and Danavas could be killed simultaneously. And that's why Krishna arranged for demigods like Kali to come down as Duryodhana and Dwarpa to come down as Shakuni, to actually stir everything up so the actual demons could be gotten rid of. So that's the background story for the Mahabharata War, the prequel. So anyway, we'll keep it short. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Mhm. Actually, more than twice. Many different forms. Well, he was holding the top of the ocean, the top of Mandara Hill. He was the pivot place is Lord Kurma, and he was also Ajita, who was also pulling. Too, he's one of the demigods who was pulling. So at least three different places Lord Vishnu appeared. Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah, Ravana's brother Vibhishan. Yeah. There's also an opportunity for divas or demigods or godly people to become demoniac. Like we've told the story many times before, how Krishna had a son by the earth planet, Boma, And Boma, of course, he had a son when he incarnated as Lord Varaha, and he picked up the Earth planet. And Boma became a demon by bad association. So here you have good mother, Earth, Bhumi, good father, Vishnu, Krishna, and you have a child who became a demon. And also you have the story of Minda and Vidvida, who are actually associates of Lord Ramchandra and helping Lord Ramchandra bring back Sita Devi from Lanka. And they became demoniac and later on had to be killed by Balaram. So you had stories of both things happening, demons becoming devotees and devotees becoming demons. And what we can learn from that is association is the most important thing. Of course, blood and good genes is important, but even more important than that is the association. Like they say, what is more important, nature or nurture? So we would say that nurture is more important than nature. So, anybody else have any questions? Yes, Krishna. Yes, but these were specific interplanetary demons. What we generally have now are not interplanetary. I don't think, not to mention any names, I don't think our politicians are interplanetary daitas. I think they're just bewildered spirit souls. Yeah, under the modes of nature. So this particular, the story of the Mahabharata is a story of an interplanetary war, not just like the ordinary run of the mill people. I mean, of course, you have people who are pretty demoniac on the Earth planet. You have, we can mention Hitler, for example, very demoniac, but it's not that he was coming from a different planet or anything like that. And it's not, there was a whole group of them who came from the Deichers or the Danavas. So a little bit different scenario. But also it's Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga, as described, that just about everybody has a little bit of demoniac tendency, or a lot of demoniac tendency, or some proportion of demoniac tendency, and some proportion of godly tendency. So everybody's sort of mixed in Kali Yuga. Okay? Yes. They had to take birth somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah, somewhere else. Yeah, yeah. They keep going on and on and on. And those who were killed directly by Krishna, it's described that they get liberated, but that liberation is impersonal liberation. That is not going back to home, back to Godhead. I mean, some of the demons actually became Krishna conscious. You have even like Surpanaka, because of her attraction to Lord Ramchandra, and her next appearance when she took birth again, became Kubja in Krishna's pastimes. So sometimes you find instances like that. But generally whatever mentality one had before, one keeps it in one's next birth. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam yajatayante kalevaram tam tam ivaiti kontia saratad baba bhavata. So any other questions or comments? Yes. Yeah. I mean, in other words, what are the duties of a Kshatriya? Is that what you're asking? Or? The duties of a Kshatriya are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. The word kshatriya basically means to protect people. Kshatriya, trayate, protect people from harm. So the duties of a kshatriya are administration and, if need be, fighting to protect people, like soldiers or at least generals in an army. Like Arjuna, he was kshatriya. Yudhisthira Maharaj and the other Pandavas were kshatriyas, and that's the duty of a kshatriya. The duty of a vaishya is to protect the cows and engage in commerce. Krishi Gorakshavanijam, Vaisa Karma Swabhavajam. The duty of a brahmana is what? Yajan, patan, dana pratigraha, to instruct others, to teach about sacrifice, to accept charity, etc., like that. And so each and every varna has different dharma. That's why it's called varnashram dharma. Maybe that no one turn on the lights on that outside, and I just noticed it's actually dark. That's off. That's off. Up, up, up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's not so great to have it dark at night. So the Kshatriya's duty is to protect others and administrate society, like Yudhisthira Maharaj. So yeah. Yeah, we're Kshatriyas. No, you're not carrying any sins forward. You don't have to worry about the sins of your in the past. But of course, in Kali Yuga, people are really a mixed caste. It's very difficult to find someone of a pure particular caste. And also, one can change their caste too. You have the example of Vishwamitra Muni, who by his austerities started off as a Kshatriya and then he became a Brahmin. And then you have a Parshuram who actually acted like a Kshatriya. So Krishna in the Gita states, Chaturvarna Mayashishta Guna Karma Vivagasha, that one is known of a particular caste or varna according to one's guna and karma. Guna means like one's qualities and one's work. So, I mean, just like Vibhishan was from a demon family, but he had the qualities of a Brahmin Kshatriya, because he later became the king of Lanka. So he actually was not stuck in that particular caste of his family. And Prahlad Maharaj also. Prahlad Maharaj was from a Daitya family, have Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu's wife Kayadu. And Prahlad Maharaj became the greatest saintly person. So by association, proper association, then anybody can change their particular nature, either go higher or lower, like we mentioned in the case of Boma or Bomasura, who was Krishna's son with the earth planet, and he went lower. And then you have people who go higher. Like this is an interesting story in the Vedas of, let's see, what's his name? Satyakama. Some of you may have heard this story before. Satyakama was from a family, basically he didn't know his Varna. His mother was a very loose lady, and she didn't basically know who Satyakama's father was. So one time, Satyakama, young man, he had Brahminical tendencies. He went to his guru, Gautama Rishi, and he said to his guru, will you accept me as a disciple? And Gautama Rishi said to him, Well, you got to tell me who your father is, to determine what your Varna is. So he goes to his mother and he says to his mother, uh, who is my father? His mother didn't know, obviously, because she was not such a nice lady. And so she said, I don't know. And so he goes back to Gautama Rishi, and Gautama Rishi says, did you find out who your father was? And he says, my mother doesn't know because it could have been a variety of different men. And Gautama Rishi says to Satyakama, that's why he's called Satyakama. It means the lover of truth. He says, you're a Brahmin because you're telling the truth. Whereas on the other hand, you have Karna, who lied to Parshuram. Karna actually told Parshuram that he was a Brahmin. He said, my father is a Brahmin. And Parshuram discovered that he actually had Kshatriya tendencies, even though he was a Sutta. When Parshuram had put his head, he was taking a nap, he put his head on Karna's lap, and Karna was being bitten by this horrendous creature and bleeding, and some of that blood fell on Parshuram. And Parshuram said, what is this? He woke up immediately. And Karna said, well, this bug or whatever creature was eating away at me, and I didn't want to disturb your sleep. And Parshuram said, therefore, you're not a Brahmin, because a Brahmin would never be able to tolerate that, some bug just eating away at their flesh. And he said, what are you? And Karna, at that particular juncture, said to him, I have to admit, I'm Sutta. But I said I was a Brahmin because you're my spiritual father. So he actually had a trick way of explaining himself away. He said, you're my spiritual father, so therefore I said I was coming in the dynasty of Brigamuni because you're in the dynasty of Brigamuni, and you're my spiritual father, so therefore I was telling the truth. And Parshuram got so angry and said that when it comes time for your final battle, and you have to utilize the Brahmastra weapon, you'll forget the mantras. And that's what happened. Of course, Karna also got cursed because he had one point killed a little calf by accident. And he got cursed by the owner of the calf that when it's time for you to get defeated, the earth is going to swallow your chariot. So he had two curses behind him. So, what? No, but he was actually a demon. He was supposed to get killed like that. So anyway, so it was Krishna's arrangement. So the point is that yeah, one can understand someone's nature by their qualities and what one's varna is. If you simply look at the birth, it doesn't always work like that. Does everybody understand that? So any other questions? We're going to have, there's going to be some prasadam. I think it's prasadam at about 6 o'clock in the hall. And the other devotees who are normally here are coming back from Ratha Yatra. Hopefully they'll be back soon. When the Ratha Yatra, they had a Ratha Yatra in downtown Hillsborough, which I decided to just stay here and speak instead of attending that Ratha Yatra because it's kind of cold out. And so, any other questions? Yeah. Pandavas. He found it out before the battle of Kurukshetra. He found it out, oh, actually, Kunti told him, and Krishna told him. So, and he decided he had an opportunity to join his brothers, and he decided not to do that. He was so much indebted to Duryodhana for for giving him the kingdom and recognizing him, in spite of his being a Sutta. So he wanted to keep his word, even though he knew he was the brother. And he actually told Kunti Devi that I will make sure that at least you have 5 sons left after the battle of Kurukshetra is over. Because he only wanted to kill Arjuna. And he kept this dart of Indra. After Indra had actually taken away his armor and his earrings, he got this dart from Indra that could kill anybody. And so that dart was actually taken when he had to fight with Gatotkacha. So because it was rejected by Drona. He wanted to become a student of Dronacharya, and Dronacharya understood that Karna was a Sutta. Hare Krishna, please come in. Dronacharya understood that Karna was a Sutta, and he wouldn't accept him. Even though Dronacharya was very liberal, he even accepted Drishtadyumna, and he knew that Drishtadyumna was supposed to kill him, because Drishtadyumna was born from fire. But he didn't want to accept someone who was not a Brahmin or a Kshatriya. That's why he also rejected Ekalavya. Ekalavya was Nishada, a very low-class person, and Ekalavya was worshiping Dronacharya without Dronacharya knowing about it. He had a deity of Dronacharya. And when Dronacharya found that out, he was very upset, and he said to Ekalavya, you should first give me Guru Dakshin, and then I'll accept you. So Ekalavya said, what Guru Dakshin do you want, Guru Maharaj? And Dronacharya said, I want the thumb of your right hand. And so he cut off his thumb and offered it to his guru. That's a heavy story. A very heavy story. Also because Dronacharya wanted Arjuna to be the best of all the archers. So that's the story of Ekalavya. Anybody else have any questions? Questions or comments or problems? No, I guess we can end, and then there'll be Prasadam. Prasadam is probably ready now anyway, right? There's Prasadam in the hall down there, and everybody, yeah, there's Prasadam. Oh, so there's Prasadam ready for everybody. Well, what? I'm sure it's there. And if not, they can bring it in. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, the story of Ekalavya is sometimes used to indicate why the Ritvic philosophy is no good.